don't know me, I'm meteorologist Michaela Lucero. I was on the First Coast earlier this year. Now I'm in Washington, D.C., but here to help with Nicole coverage. So here's what we're working with right now. This is a look at satellite and radar, the most recent data that we've seen come through. We're watching this area here. That's where Nicole is. We're starting to see the eye, or a potential eye, of this storm start to tighten up a little bit. This is the area that we're watching right now. We're starting to see it get a little bit more organized as we move into the later part of this evening, and more intensification is expected, honestly, as we head towards the rest of the evening tonight. Here's what we look like on the First Coast. Not a whole lot going on at the moment. We're seeing some gusty winds and just a few stray showers starting to pull through. A zoomed in look at Duval County. If you are headed anywhere along that I-95 corridor, be aware you're probably going to be running into quite a few showers and some of those gusty winds. Now, for a look at a county by county breakdown of what we're going to be seeing over the next about 48 hours, here's Chief Meteorologist Tim Deegan.
All right, thank you, Michaela. And yes, Michaela was here during Ian, but don't blame Michaela. She didn't come down here until Nicole actually formed, but she certainly is a big help, and we appreciate it. Okay, so Michaela was showing you the developing ragged eye over the Abacos. This is a computer model. Doesn't mean it's going to go exactly as planned, but I think it gives you a pretty good idea. So this is now 2:30 in the morning. As we head toward dawn, this would be the ragged eye moving ashore north of Palm Beach, south of the Cape. And the main point I want to make is here's Flagler County, here is St. Augustine, and the leading edge of the heavier, steadier rains and strongest wind gusts and potential isolated tornadoes will start to swing by during the morning hours. Notice by noon, already the core has crossed the peninsula, and thus the steadier heavy rains will begin to head more toward the Suwannee and the Okefenokee of southeastern Georgia, and then it heads toward the north. So that's a real quick look, but let's break it down for you county by county after we talk about the tides. Each high tide, the flooding has become more widespread, and I think the worst high tide will be tomorrow morning, although it does get as late as the afternoon farther south along the St. Johns River. Overall, here's what's coming toward us. Remember, much of our flooding problem is because what's coming at us from the ocean. We've seen seas building to nearly 30 feet off the Space Coast. So first of all, for those of you over St. John's and Flagler, we'll continue with those tidal levels of 3 to 5 feet, so much like Ian, and again, even more widespread than what we saw with the high tide of earlier today, and some gusts to 65 when that squall comes ashore, especially during the morning on Thursday, and then we'll begin to deal with some isolated tornadoes. On to Duval, again, 3 to 5 feet. You combine that with the rainfall, and it's going to be higher than what we experienced with Ian and Duval. Looks like about 18 inches lower than Irma if you were here during Irma. Gusts to about 55. And during the day, especially tomorrow, mid to late morning, at least there'll be the threat of some isolated tornadoes. Let's go farther off toward the west. Now, for those of you in Clay and Putnam, similar water levels to Ian. As far as watching the Black Creek, if we just get 5 inches, we'll be fine. If it gets toward 8 inches, then Black Creek might start to flood later on Thursday. All right, let's go farther out to the west. For those of you out toward the Suwannee, our main concern for you will be later Thursday and possibly lingering into Friday, some isolated tornadoes up toward the Okefenokee. Your main threat will be the isolated tornadoes late Thursday and then into Friday. And finally, for those of you over Nassau, Camden, and Glen, most of us will have our worst high tide the first half of Thursday because southeast winds will impact you more significantly. We'll be watching the high tide for you later Thursday and even on into Friday. And there you go. By sunset Friday, we'll be clearing out for a fresh weekend to clean up.
All right, Tim, thanks so much.